Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Microfleet. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Series 9 Light Armor Class Chase, the Elite TIE Defender. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the figure, at the vehicle, at the packaging. We'll do some measurements, we'll do a comparison. Let's go ahead and dive into the review. Let's start with the packaging. So you've got Series 9 here on the side. Then you've got Star Wars Rebels, that's the media source this is coming from. And then TIE Defender Elite down here, number 196. Then it shows you, you've got this sticker on here, 1 of 5,000. You get a chance to see our pilot as well as the vehicle itself. Turn this thing around to the back, you get a chance to see the different features of this vehicle and then also the other vehicles that come in the line. On the underside, here is the UPC if you're looking for that. So here is your card backing and your insert, nothing but a blue graphic on there. So here's our figure. It comes in this little package. If you turn this thing around to the back, you've got a cool little blueprint there that you could save if you wanted to. Grab this tab right here on the inside and pull on that, and then your pilot's loose. Here are all of our TIE pilots that we've had so far in the series. Well, not all of them. There's a couple others that are missing, but you've got your Series 1. Then we have our TIE Interceptor. Then we have our Black Squadron, our TIE Defender Common, and then Vault Scarus here, which is the Chase. So starting from left to right, you can obviously see the dots that were there on the helmet in Series 1, where they hadn't figured out the tampo printing where they can actually get that logo on the top of the helmet, which you can now see on all of the series after that. And then as we're transitioning to the Black Squadron had a little extra detailing there. It's got that silver pinstripe down the side of the sleeve, as well as on the top of the helmet. Then we have our standard TIE Defender pilot, which is actually a female pilot. You can see that the pilot's a little bit shorter, got a little thinner waist. And then we move to Vault Scarus, and Vault looks awesome. So you can see that yellow on there on his helmet as well as on his sleeve, and they have it down the side of his leg as well. So see if I can get that in focus. There you go. And then they also have a little bit of yellow on the side of his torso. So amazing that they're able to get that much detail on a figure of this size. And it just really adds a ton of value to a figure like this, and then a vehicle that's going to be a 1 of 5,000 chase. So very, very cool. I love the differences that we're getting in the pilots, and then we have so many different versions of them so far. I'm excited to see what they do as we continue moving on in the series. Taking this thing out of the package is a bit of a challenge. Fortunately, it does all disassemble. So I would recommend, as you're trying to take it out of the blister pack, that you try to remove all of the wings so that way it's easier to get that cockpit out of the inside of it. But it does actually have a flight stand with it, which is very cool because it does have this ball joint. And the ball joint is awesome to use because it gives you a lot more versatility in how you will display this. So to be able to connect it on the underside here, you can see there is that little hole where you can go ahead and put the ball joint in. Now, the one thing I will say about this is it is very, very tight. So for whatever reason, when they make it, it's a little more oval shaped. It's a narrower from front to back. So you do have to work this thing in there to be able to get it to fit in. Now, my recommendation is that as you're going to insert it, you actually do pop the wings off of here so that way it does insert a lot easier. And as you're going to put this in, hold really close to this ball joint so that way you can kind of force it in. You can see how difficult that is. Now, I've worked this around quite a bit to be able to get that to fit in there. And the fit is pretty tight once it's on, so it doesn't move around a ton. I mean, it does move, but you have to put some force on it to be able to make it move. So just keep in mind that as you're putting this flight stand on here, again, you're going to need to work it around and make sure you hold up here towards the top. I've done this on 1 or 2 others, and this piece right here is a little flimsy, and I've broken it. So just be careful as you're putting that on there. I'm going to try to do this thing justice here as we take a look at this in this review, but it is very difficult because in person, this thing looks amazing. So this would be something that I would almost consider to be a Vault exclusive type of vehicle, where we're getting so much detail here on the paint application. but it does look really, really nice. So you've got obviously this really striking yellow color here that kind of goes all the way around the wing as well as on the cockpit. And then you've got that black piece on there. You've got the little lasers on it. I mean, it looks really, really good. And it actually is a lighter color material. So we'll show this as I compare this to the standard version of the TIE Defender, just how it looks different. But it does look really, really nice. So what you can do with this is actually, you've already seen here, you can remove all of the wings. So I'll go ahead and take one of the wings off so it's a little bit easier to look at it. And so you can see it's got this yellow and the two little marks coming down. So I actually have a custom one of these that I made, and I did a ton of research into watching the show and seeing where all of the paint is. And they did a fantastic job here, especially even hitting this little yellow right here on the back corner of the wing, which is one that can be easily missed, but it looks really, really nice. So we'll go ahead and take all of the wings off so that way we can take a look at the actual cockpit itself. And again, great job here with the paint application there. So you can see with those two little flares that come off of that yellow piece right there, they've got the yellow on the top of the cockpit, the yellow around the engine. The engine piece actually does pull back here, so that way you can see the engine. And then it kind of clips back up there. And then to open the cockpit, there is a little tab here that you pull on. So pull on that. That opens the cockpit. A super clever idea for this type of vehicle to have it open that way. So that way it's a little bit easier to put the pilot in there if you did have the wings on. Although I will say taking the wings off does make it a whole heck of a lot easier to do basically anything with this vehicle. Getting it on the stand or putting the figure in. So it looks, again, really good. I am a huge Defender fan. I've loved it ever since Action Fleet came out with the version of the Defender, and then seeing it actually in Rebels was really cool, and then also seeing this Elite version. So I knew once Jazwares did it, they've got another Elite version they can do in red that would be pretty much the exact same paint application as this, but in red. So either way, looks really, really good, and I'm very impressed with the quality of this vehicle. For measurements, if we're looking at this front to back, this is 5 inches long. From side to side, it is about 4 inches-ish. And then while it's sitting on the stand here, which is one of the unfortunate things, is you actually can't get this thing to sit down on the table. It does need to be on the stand, otherwise it tilts forward. But while it's on here, it is about 4¼ inches tall. I want to compare now the two Defenders that we have, our standard version with the Elite version. Now these are on my custom 3D printed flight stands. You can find these, the links to these in the description below for my Etsy page that has flight stands for these as well as many other vehicles. And so you can see as we turn these things to the side, obviously that very different color difference between the type of plastic that's being used. So with the standard Defender, it's much more of a gray. And then now with the Elite version, it's kind of like a off-white or super, super light gray. And again, being able to see the difference in the color and that yellow really does pop really well on the Elite version relative to the standard. All of the features are the exact same. It looks the exact same. There's no difference there. Obviously, just major difference in the paint application. But both of these are on ball joints as well, so you can move them around. So if you wanted a slightly taller flight stand, you'd be able to get that one. And then this one does have some versatility as well to be able to kind of move it into lots of different positions if you wanted to display these differently than the flight stand that it actually does come on. Here I've got my custom Action Fleet version of this where I did the Elite TIE Defender. And then just looking at the Action Fleet version compared, it's pretty amazing the difference, because I've always had the Action Fleet just as my North Star version of what the TIE Defender would look like. And you can see the difference in the cockpit is significant. The Action Fleet is way bigger. And then as we turn this thing to the side, you can see that the Action Fleet wings are much shorter than what we're getting with the Elite TIE Defender. And the Elite version here that we're looking at with the Microgalaxy version, the wings are much longer. So from a bunch of different sources and from a lot of comments from other videos, it sounds like this is coming from some of the old video games, Rogue Squadron, or a newer video game that does show it with the longer wings on it. And to be honest, I do kind of like this version that has the longer wings. But you can see the paint detailing there on the wings, kind of like I was saying, where you get, you know, again, the quality of the paint application there from Jazwares is just really, really nice. Same thing with the cockpit. And then as we turn this thing around to the back, you know, obviously the back was totally different here on the Action Fleet version versus the Microgalaxy one, but either way, there it is. So very cool to be able to see these compared together, especially considering that I've had this Action Fleet one sitting around for a long, long time. You know, probably 5 or 6 years now at this point where I did that custom, and it's very, very cool. So that is all I have for you for your review. If you like this, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Feel free to check out all the links below for all of the flight stands that I have, as well as other links to my Instagram page and Facebook. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I look forward to catching everybody on the next review.